point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Oh, no, it ain't, Gordon. Greed's been replaced by another G word, generosity. And it's a highly effective marketing strategy.
Yeah, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. But you, so much more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. As per usual, a big show today, and it's exceptionally big. I don't know whether you can hear in the background there, but there are some rather wacky noises, kind of like monkey primate type noises. That is because we are doing an episode of Funny Business today. Now, if you are a new listener to this show, every now and then I bring an old mate of mine, Andrew Griffiths, on, and we pick a topic and we do a bit of a deep dive into it. Have a bit of fun along the way, but it's always a business topic, and we attempt to be funny. Who is Andrew Griffiths, did you say? Excellent question. AG, as we call him, or Giffo, is Australia's leading author on the topic of small business and entrepreneurship. Leading because he's got 12 books in 60 countries. That's leading. Plus, he is a hugely popular speaker on the same topic and an all-round good guy. So I am just going to weed my way through the vines and gee, they're loud, those monkeys. I am weeding my way through vines and trees and boa constrictors, and he's there, he is in the distance, sitting on a tree, hanging upside down. Thank God he hasn't got a dress on. Griffo, is that you? Griffo, come in.
That's me, and if I knew you were coming, I would have waxed.
Oh, honestly, I don't need that. I do not need, that's almost start again stuff. Oh, goodness me, mate, you look a treat sitting on that tree, just kind of letting it swing.
Just swinging in the breeze, mate. Swinging in the breeze. That's all I can say.
Wild
I've been in here
free.
for a long time. I've been lonely.
Yeah. Hey, if you were, and I'm glad some of those monkeys in the background, they have quietened down now that Papa Bear's speaking. But, Griffo, if you were a primate, what would you be?
Well, I'd like to say a silverback gorilla, but I think I'm probably more of an orangutan, to be honest.
Do you know what? I wish I had written down the answer before, because that's exactly what I was thinking. The big pink bum showing, hey?
That's right.
Would you wear pants?
Never. But I would smoke cigars. I think that's my compromise.
See, I love how you changed your answer. Like, the ego was saying, yes, silverback every day of the week. But you were honest. You knew that, bottom line, you're an orangutan.
Reality set in. I know what I can. I know my limitations.
Yeah, no. Now, Griffo, lovely to be back in the jungle with you to talk about some funny business. And today's topic is a ripper. It is an absolute ripper. You highlighted it yesterday as we were, umming and ahhing about, should we... you were saying, why don't we just talk about you? And I'm like, I don't know. We should probably... What else have we got? And at that point, you've gone, you know what? How about generosity as a subject matter? Love it.
Great topic.
Look, I think as a topic, generosity, what do you mean in a business context when you say, let's talk about generosity?
I think the world's changing. I think that I'm seeing more of what I would call humanity and business interacting, and the 80s concept of greed is good is no longer relevant and has been so thank goodness for the movie.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed, for lack of a better word, is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
Oh, but hang on. Sorry. 80s, I am a child of the 80s. I loved Gordon and everything that went with it.
Everything he stood for.
Yeah, everything it stood for. You're telling me greed is no longer good and it's being replaced by another G word, which I'm kind of happy about.
Which is nice. Greed is gone. Absolutely, it's part of the hipster apocalypse. It's been pushed out, and generosity is big. Kindness is big. All these new words that we all kind of go, oh God, it's a little bit kumbaya-ish to be talking about that in business.
You said it, not me, but I was thinking it. Airy-fairy? Is this airy-fairy business chatter for people who aren't smart enough to come up with something harder-edged, Griffo?
Well, that's a bit of a tough one to answer, really, isn't it?
I think you answered it by not answering it.
I know. But, of course, the reality is no. And I think that we are fortunate enough to be living in a world where business is changing and things like generosity are being discussed as a business strategy, but even that makes it kind of sound a little bit dirty. It's more of a business fundamental.
Don't mind dirty.
Well, we've got to be careful about our dirtiness. So, interesting, like I read an article in Forbes talking about generosity, and the lady that wrote it came out and said, the secret to success is generosity. And you go, wow, you wouldn't have read that kind of thing a few years back because people would have thought, it's not a heavy enough business strategy. Whereas now, I think things have changed and things have changed for the better. And I'm seeing people embracing words like generosity, and generosity in particular is a very, very strong and powerful word in my view.
Yeah, interesting. I agree. And like very shortly, you and I are going to go through some examples of generosity because it's not just giving, is it? I mean, it's not just like it's not like about here's a gift, I'm being generous. There's lots of ways generosity can play out as a marketing strategy in your business. I think we'll let our listeners decide whether it's airy-fairy or not, but we've got some real good case studies and examples of it. How about, before we give them, share some of those case studies, Griffo, the opposite of generosity in my book is being mean-spirited. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely.
A bit Scrooge-like. And I experienced that yesterday of an example where generosity could have played out in this example. It didn't. And I was in a cafe. Bit of backstory. Normally in my car, I have a delightful little leather pouch that I bought in Florence that I keep my parking coins in. Well, one of my kids had stolen it, Griffo, so I had no parking coins, right? So I am in the cafe and I go, you know what? I know where this is going to end. I'm going to ask for parking money and she's going to say no, right? And she did. And it's like, really? Mm-hmm. Do I have to, buy a coffee or a donut? Yeah, I buy a donut anywhere I go. But, she could have been generous and just said, yeah, sure. Would have left a good taste in my mouth, probably would have been back again to buy a coffee another time.
Well, and wouldn't that business really, one of the smartest things that business could do was just factor into their daily operation. Yeah. We give out $100 worth of coins, and it's not costing us, but it's going to be an effort. We do that because that's a cool thing to do.
And you put a sign on the window, that doesn't say no change for parking meters given. It actually celebrates it, and you get that sign printed as a permanent fixture and have some fun with it.
Change gladly given for parking.
Yeah.
And put the staff in a T-shirt, yes, we give change.
Correct.
And I think that's the essence of it, isn't it? That we've all encountered miserable businesses, mean businesses. For me, it is absolutely one of my pet hates is a business that is that mean that they it's almost like that everything is so heavily controlled. You go into the toilet and they'll give you a piece of toilet paper. They'll engage someone to stand there.
Come on, you're being silly now. Like, I know you're an orangutan and there's a whole lot of stuff going on there.
But it's like that where you go into a place and you just go, it just feels mean.
Yeah.
And like they don't want to spend a cent. But the meanness I think that carries through in a business. It's a meanness of spirit kind of comes through as well because, we're going to be tight asses around how we're going to clean or what we're going to give you or what we're not going to give you. And then you turn around and go, well, I think that just encourages an attitude that is similar to that. So the staff become a bit antsy stuff. It's more about us versus them as opposed to a spirit of, be generous, and we'll talk more about generosity. But yes,
Griffo, now you are one of the more generous people that I know, right? Mm-hmm. And I say that from the bottom of my heart for all to hear. Has that always been part of you, or I don't know, 20 years ago when you owned that dive shop and you were, the dive shop that was 600 kilometres from the coast. Good business decision. Were you generous back then? Were you generous at school, or did you find it at some point?
It is part of my nature. I've always been generous, and I know that. How do you say that without not sounding, it has been a part of my makeup. But I've seen and such wonderful. What would you say? Not proof of the concept. Well, yeah, proof of the concept. Absolutely. In every business I've had where I've been generous, but in every sales role or anything that I'm doing, generosity is a part of my DNA, but it's also a part of how I do business, and it's been a game changer for me.
Okay, well, all right. Well, you don't kind of know that it's been a game changer because it's just who you are.
True.
Before we talk about those business owners that are less than generous and discuss whether generosity can be learned, here's a word about two businesses that can turbocharge both your business and personal growth. A common complaint I hear from small business owners is that marketing their business online does their head in. Sound familiar? Is your website not producing the results you'd love? Is it hard to update? Does it rank poorly on Google? If your head's nodding, then maybe it's time to give NetRegistry a buzz. They'll get your online marketing sorted quickly and cheaply. NetRegistry actually hosts the Small Business Big Marketing website. You don't need to be a pro when it comes to the internet team, because they are. And they make it simple and straightforward, getting you a domain name, website hosting, design, whatever you need to market your business effectively online. Visit netregistry.com.au or call them on 1300 638 734 to get your online marketing sorted today. And tell them Timbo sent you.
Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Audible is offering you a free audiobook of your choice and a free 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/SBBM and choose from over 180,000 audiobooks. Download a title for free right now. Well, after the show's finished. Seriously, it's that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/SBBM and get started today.
Smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
What about those people that aren't generous by nature, that they struggle to give things away, that they find it hard to extend the hand of generosity? Can you learn it?
That's a really good question, and I think you can. I think it rubs off on other people as well. I think that when you're generous, people do notice that, and then they can in turn do it. Can I share a brief story around that?
Okay.
Now, when I was a boy, a little while back, I had my website redeveloped. And it was a really interesting kind of experience because it almost killed me. It was one like getting a new website. We all know how big and horrendous that is. And anyway, through the process, it was a very big redevelopment, big job. My web developers were about 2 weeks away, and everyone was tired and emotional, and it was getting to the stage where we just got to push across the last bit of that line. And I knew that everyone was feeling that way, so I decided I wanted to do something. So I got this really interesting kind of gift basket together for them. And I didn't send over fruit or flowers. I got things like Baroccas, no-dose tablets,
steamed Sims,
earplugs, condoms, don't ask why, a book of jokes and all these just kind of weird things that I knew each of the people individually to a large degree, and I got stuff that was really relevant with them, and I got it delivered. And the interesting thing that came out of that was the lady that owned the company, a friend of mine, Nikki Jerd, she said to me, she rang me and said, "Andrew, you are so good at saying thank you." She said, it's made me get better at doing it myself. It's made me be more appreciative of how important it is when people help me or when clients, do something really nice. I've become a more generous person as a result. And not that she wasn't, but she didn't think about doing this kind of stuff. It's about learning to say, in this case with generosity, saying thank you really well. So yes, I think people can learn it.
It's a muscle. It is the generosity muscle, and like anything, if you exercise it, it'll be hard those first few times as you write the check for some gifts for clients, or you spend some extra time that you wouldn't have normally allocated to a job and not charge for it. It's going to hurt, but if you continue to practice it. And I also think hang around with others. I mean, the old thing with what are we, the average of the 5 people that we hang around with from an income point of view, from a personality point of view, from an everything point of view. And maybe you need to, lose a Scrooge in your life if you do want to enter the generosity zone and find someone to hang around with that is generous. I want to give an example, Griffo, of one. We can go. How about we go one for one on examples of generosity in business, and why don't we then vote as to whose was the best?
Well, it's a lay down misère, really.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
me too.
Certainly is. Okay, so I got this again. I got this email. I'm in a week of generosity. I am the recipient of generosity. I got this email headline: "Giving back to you," and this came through yesterday. Hiya, Timbo. I hope you're well. Timbo, I've emailed you in the past thanking you for your awesome show. So already this person is generous because she has, right? And just thanking me, not asking for anything in return. She goes on to say, "I finally got the chance to give you something small back. So I hope you'll accept a copy of my ebook." She goes on to say, and this is the interesting part. So another lesson there, it's an ebook. It's to her.
You don't have to spend $1 million.
No, it's a 57-page ebook, and I'm sure is full of wonderful intellectual property that probably took her a long time to put together. But she's not sending me, a Range Rover Evoque. On that point, though, if Range Rover are listening and are feeling generous, and not even Range Rover, Griffo, like
you'd accept
Audi.
a Jeep, right?
Jeep. So she goes on to say, "This is a private email. Please don't mention it on your show. I'm kind of shy." I'm not going to mention her name, by the way, and I'm not looking for a plug. But I was hoping that you get something out of it since you're always so generous with your teachings and learnings.
That is the essence of it.
Right there.
That to me is so beautiful. I don't want anything. It's just to say thank you. Just to say thank you. And I mean, that's where people, again, that's an interesting point about you don't have to spend $1 million to say thank you, to show gratitude. I still think the greatest form of gratitude is to send someone a card and just say thank you so much. I get a lot of cards from people that I coach, authors. I've got one sitting up there, coaches are everyday heroes. And you get this beautiful card that someone's gone to a shop, made the time, sat down, wrote a beautiful message in there just to say thank you. No one else will see it. No one else will read it. It's not like I put it on my website. It is purely that wonderful, that interaction from someone else that I think, do I feel an amazing bond with that person? Absolutely. Not from just all the work we've done, but it's put together. And I keep every single card that I receive. I've got boxes full of these things because they mean so much to us. It's easy to underestimate the impact of your gratitude, your generosity, that it can have to someone else. Generosity of spirit. It doesn't have to be generosity of money. I think that's the thing. So, okay, now my turn. Is it my turn or did I use my turn?
I think you use a lot of your turns. So I'm just going to add, before you trump me, sorry, I forgot we were playing one-upmanship. How silly of me. But one of the things too is that that whole card thing. I remember getting involved in a network marketing thing years ago called send out cards. And even today, whilst I'm not into network marketing and I've tried, what appealed to me about send out cards was the notion of giving. Of just, their whole marketing spin was send cards, send as many cards as you can. But it was packaged in the spirit of generosity, of making people feel good. And again, that works. So again, here's the thing. We'll give you some more examples, and maybe there's some expensive examples that we'll also give, but being generous, I don't know if there are actually, Griffo. I don't know.
I've got some expensive ones that I
all right,
talk
mate,
about.
You go. What do you got?
I've got another cheap one I want to do. I was at a coffee shop in Perth, right on the beach there in near Cottesloe, I think it was.
Smashing down a couple of custard tarts, were you?
Couple of custard tarts, and I was working diligently on my laptop at this thing. And this one of the cafes in Perth, they're very good at, very pet friendly. And I thought, this is really nice. There's a little area for dogs and there's plenty of water and there's shade and dogs are all there. And I noticed that one of the ladies from inside the restaurant, she came out with a plate of chopped up things for the pets. and it was like little meat treats, just leftover stuff from the kitchen, I'm sure, or whatever it was. And she got all the dogs to all sit down and gave them all, they all had to behave to get a little treat.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that's what a really nice, simple, easy little thing to do. And of course, all the pet owners love this place. And you look at it and go, that's being generous, in such a simple and easy way, in my view. I mean, that one really resonated with me as a pet owner, I guess.
Did you line up?
Well, she was throwing me snacks in between because they're actually used to me, Timbo.
That's right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
While I'm sitting there on the laptop, it's just snap.
Yeah. Sorry, little Chihuahua. I'm just going to take that as well. You don't need all that.
Well, I did suck the Chihuahua up one day, and that was a bit awkward for all of us.
Yep.
I had a lady who, again, I'd helped to write a book. She bought me a voucher she donated 1,001 entrepreneurial books to a school in Africa.
Wow.
And I got the certificate of 1,001 books. Can you imagine that? So none of them were mine, I might add, which is devastating. But really, wow, what an extraordinary gift that was, to receive this voucher, from her saying, to say thank you. I know you really don't need anything much, but on your behalf, bang, you've donated this. I thought, that's a huge impact in a school. That, who knows, if one of those kids learns from that. Like, again, that to me meant more than if she bought me a bottle of red wine. I don't want a bottle of freaking red wine. I don't want to, I don't need anything like that. Was one of the best gifts I've ever received.
Yeah, lovely. And so simple. My son was, all my kids just, they online shop, for everything. We had a truck arrive this morning, last 2 mornings in a row. And I don't know why, but the local post office goes, we'll go to Tim's house first and deliver. The first delivery's at 7 a.m, right? So the last 2 mornings, we've had the packages arrive. So this morning I've said to Jack, where'd that one come from? It had come from a shop called Banana Republic, which is an overseas, big overseas clothing retailer. They deliver here. So I thought I'd just go and check out, are they generous? And they're very generous in they have free shipping over $50 and they have a free returns policy. So here's another way of being generous, okay? So we talked about gift giving. We've talked about, allocating extra time to jobs that you wouldn't normally do and not charging for it. And here is, just a very, very generous returns policy and shipping policy. And again, like some businesses, and I've been guilty of it. I don't know whether you have or not. You just sound like an unbelievably generous bloke. But, do we need to scrape every dollar from the deal, or can we leave something in it?
That's the essence of it, though, isn't it? Again, if we go, do we have to kind of wring it dry and win at all costs, or can we leave something in there, or should they just be built into it? And it's not always about the money. It's like when where you have those transactions where something's gone wrong. Restaurants always seem to come up in this situation. I remember I went to a restaurant not that long ago, and this was in South Australia. And anyway, I ordered a meal. I was having dinner with a friend, and their meal came out, and there was something wrong with their meal. It was like, and it had to go back to the kitchen, and they brought it back out. And anyway, we really didn't give it too much of a thought. But when the bill came out, they chopped 50% off the bill.
Yeah.
And I thought, we didn't really expect that. It wasn't a big deal. And the owner came over and said, I'm really sorry about that. We pride ourselves so much in what we do. We hope that didn't damage your experience. Here we go, man, are you kidding? That was fantastic. Coming back here tomorrow night because of that, spirit of generosity more than anything else.
And then you said, you're not going to believe this, Mr. Waiter, but I do this segment called Funny Business, and I am going to be talking you up. Hey? But that's how it works too. This kind of concept of word of mouth versus word of mouth. When I know people say, when you do something bad, people tell 100 others. Yeah, that's true, whatever the number is. But more and more, when you're having a great experience, you look at these feedback things on TripAdvisor or Urban Spoon or Yelp or anywhere that has the ability to leave reviews, people are doing it. And generosity is another strategy to get a good review. And I think it's another thing to do. You want to be generous towards a business, then leave a good review.
And absolutely, and you want to do it out of sincerity. I think we both agree, but it's good for business. It's good for business to be generous. I've got a slightly different angle to talk about. Is that okay if I change direction here, seeing it's my show now?
Well, you may as well change direction because you don't know who One Direction is. That's an old joke.
Old in-joke.
Yeah, an in-joke. Anyway, I digress, Griffo. You go for it.
Because I didn't know who One Direction was. He thinks that I was born in 1913, which is probably pretty close to the point. Anyway, and I've just gone completely blank.
You wanted to change direction. You wanted to up the tempo to try and beat my original wonderful email case study that I think...
Up the tempo. Now, we all get people that want us to do stuff for free. Hey, mate, can I have a cup of coffee with you? Can I pick your brains? All that kind of stuff. And there's times, that we kind of go, yeah, look, we're happy to do that. Or there's times that we feel, I don't know, should I, shouldn't I? You have to be careful. Sometimes you spend your whole week doing freebie stuff, and I've certainly been through that. So I changed my approach around that a little bit not so long ago. So what I do now, if I'm happy to meet with someone for free, theoretically, that's not a paid, structured kind of session, I'll say, great, okay, well, I'll give you an hour of my time, but in return, I'm going to ask you to do something for me. And I'll have a printed sheet now that I will give them. So I talk about this in advance. So I need you to do one of 5 things. Make a donation to my charities, which are the Abused Child Trust or the Sleepy Burrows Wombat Sanctuary, or donate some blood. And I want proof of your donation from each of these places. So if you donate blood, I want a selfie sent to me of you laying on the bed bleeding. If you donate to my Sleepy Burrows Wombat Sanctuary, I want you to send me the PayPal slip. Or however you do it, because I've had people in the past that have said they will do it and they haven't.
Wow.
And so which is how uncool is that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I'll give you my time, but I don't believe in free. I think it needs to be value. Now, I don't care how much you pay. I don't know how much you give them. I don't care any of that kind of stuff, but you've got to give something to someone else. And I've been amazed at the response that I've had to that. I did that with one guy not so long ago, and I said, you make a donation to the RSPCA. That's what I want you to do on behalf of me for you doing this session. So there's an exchange. And he said everything changed for him now. He realised that he was actually kind of always asking for stuff for free, didn't really value it, looking at the angle, and he said, so now he does the same thing. When he does freebie kind of consults, he asks the people to make a donation to his charity of choice. And in return, whatever amount they can afford, that's okay. No one's going to, or whatever you think that session was worth. You'd make that donation. And it's another way of a win-win from a gratitude point of view, if you ask me.
Is another, I think I've seen that list, Griffo, lying on your kitchen bench. Was another one on that list, wash your car?
No, it wasn't, but I like that idea. I like that a lot. Be my slave for a day.
Yeah, that's right.
Why didn't I think of that?
I love it. Is there anything else on that list, or is it all about charitable donation?
It's charitable donation.
Yeah, right.
Just you pick your one, and I'm hoping to get a bank of these photos of people laying in the blood bank. You see, I told you, the selfie of the thing, and that would be really cool. But I don't know. I think that again, that. I don't know. Is that generosity? Is it something different?
I think it's it is. I want to shoehorn that back into the whole generosity thing by saying that it's like a lot of people do call us and say, can I pick your brain or can I grab a coffee? Yeah, you can. But to turn that into a generous gesture, how about you not pay me, but do good somewhere else. So I think that's a wonderful thing. I also think we should make the point here that this whole concept, this generosity strategy, which it is, it's a business strategy, applies just as equally to not only clients but staff, to your suppliers, maybe even to the media. If you're looking for exposure in the media. So I love the idea of, like Google is an example of a business that I don't know a lot about Google in terms of the way they do business, but you do hear that staff, what do they get every Friday off or every second Friday to think about other stuff? But I think one of the big problems with small business is staff attraction and retention, and I wonder whether generosity can play a part in addressing that. Where who wouldn't want to work for a generous business?
And sometimes that generosity is as simple as just giving someone a bunch of flowers or saying someone, have the afternoon off. It used to be a standard cliche line, take the rest of the day off type thing. But I don't think anyone ever is allowed to do that anymore because we're all too busy. But to actually say, hey, why don't you have Monday off my shout? And we're going, oh, but I'm running a business, I'm doing this. But you keep your staff for longer. They are happier. I read a great example of this here, Timbo. This was a little company. There's an author guy here called Author of Nice Companies Finish First, Why Cutthroat Management is Over and Collaboration is In by Peter Shankman. Anyway, this article is saying how this guy is one example. He travels a lot in his small business, racks up a lot of frequent flyer points. So he gives the frequent flyer points to his staff.
Wow.
So that they can use them to go and visit their family or whatever. What a cool thing that is.
Cool. Really cool.
Like that is so, really, he's going to travel anyway. He's going to rack up 1 million more frequent flyer points. You look at it and go, well, what's he going to do with them, really? His business is all tax deductible. But how nice to say your next trip to Sydney is on me, or your next trip to Melbourne is on me, or your next trip up to Cairns is on me.
Is that you talking to me? You giving me those trips?
Non-negotiable. There's a disclaimer, blah, 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 blah.
I love that. And just to wrap things up, put a bow on that, is to say that sometimes, have a think. If you're listening and you're going, I like this generosity thing, have a think about what will make a difference to the people's lives that you want to be generous to. So, for some it could be money. For someone else it could be a day off. For someone else it could be just a sit down and give you time to have a bit of a chin wag and be generous. So just have it. It's not all about gift giving. It's not all about money. There's lots of different ways of doing it. And a ripper topic, Griffo. I thank you for introducing that to us, and listeners, I hope you benefited from it. We could have a vote as to who came up with the best example.
I think we all know that.
Yeah, I
really.
agree.
It's, we're all pretty clear who won that one.
Totally, Griffo. I think you're absolutely right there. Yeah. So, matey, lovely to see your shining dial again. I'm glad that you sort of decided to straighten up and sit on the branch as opposed to hang upside down the entire time, because that ain't pretty. That ain't pretty.
I did get a very nasty splinter last time that put a doctor in a very compromising position. Let's leave it at that and move on. I
can hear all your mates in the background starting to, squawk and squeal and get a little bit antsy because they want a bit more of you, being the orangutan who wishes he was a silverback that you are. So, mate, lovely to have you in the jungle again, so to speak. That didn't sound right, but we will erase all profanity from this episode. And until next time, I look forward to seeing your shining dial, mate.
Thank you, mate. Thank you for your generosity of having me on your show.
Good on you, mate. I'm trampsing my way out of the jungle now, and it's not easy because he's right in the middle of it. But I will make my way out and head back into the Small Business Big Marketing HQ to let you know what is going to be happening in next week's episode, what's coming up, because there is a lot of good stuff. Oh, it's good to be back in the comfort of my studio. It can get pretty uncomfortable out there with Griffo and all his crazy mates. And those mozzies, I've got to tell you, they are shocking. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that episode of Funny Business. I do love getting together with Griffo. Coming up next week, we're joined by a very successful optometrist turned entrepreneur and venture capitalist, believe it or not, who now owns an assortment of businesses across Oklahoma and Arizona. And he attributes his huge success to some smart marketing decisions. Great interview. If you're serious about taking your business to the next level, then join hundreds of motivated business owners inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum over at crankmymarketing.com. And be sure to hit me up on Twitter. I love it when you guys do that. At Timbo Reid, R-E-I-D, or hit Griffo up as well, at AG Author, A-U-T-H-O-R. And if you have got a conference coming up, I'd love to share my helpful marketing presentation with your audience. So you can find out more about my speaking engagements at timreid.com.au. Don't know why I did that voice. Or you could book Giffo and I. Hey, there you go. We could do a funny business live from stage. Be sure to use NetRegistry to get all your online marketing sorted and grab your free audiobook over at audibletrial.com/SBBM. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. Always have been, always will be. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.